old.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's bad.
I've never heard that. I'm too young to be this old.
Yeah.
Well, you don't look a day over 50, and well, we appreciate you
But I
coming
am
in.
a day over 50.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll take
So,
that
yeah,
as a compliment.
Somebody put together a big to-do for you last week. That was neat.
Yeah.
Who was behind all that? Was that supposed to be a surprise? Because if it was, I kind of busted it out.
No, it wasn't a surprise.
I got an invite, and you had a lot of folks come out downtown to the deli and celebrate your birthday. Did you put any magic? Put on any magic?
We did. I had a couple of friends that came by and they put on bits and pieces of their act for everybody.
If you're not aware, Wallace is quite the accomplished magician. And in fact, when we have Wallace come in, he's been very gracious to visit us and visit you, obviously, as an elected official, and share his thoughts on government, local government, and whatever. But I've always noticed that you are quite the magician, because when you leave, something's always missing here. I just got to be honest. You know, it takes me a couple of days to realize that, you know what, I'm missing a coffee cup. But,
these tricks can just happen at any time. Huh?
You know, keep your eyes on my hand, you know, so they say. Well, we appreciate you coming in, and we're going to talk more about the charter and what all went into it and where it stands. In a moment, we appreciate you joining us here on Clarksville Interview. In our next hour, we're going to meet the Marina Man. Greg Batts will join us here by phone. He is the man behind the marina. He'll be operating the new marina, which they unveiled this week at the Riverview Inn to a huge crowd. So stand by. We'll be right back. All right, good morning. Welcome back. It's 8:18 on WJZM Radio, Clarksville Interview. You can hear it online at WJZM.com, and you can watch these Saturday morning visits online at TVClarksville.com. Wallace Redd is here, City Councilman, and, of course, head of that Charter Revision Committee. And we visited a gazillion times here on this thing and what you guys were up to and how it was such a painstaking process. And, I mean, you feel comfortable that the committee did everything they were supposed to do so far as it being a proper document. It was legal. The verbiage was correct. It was reviewed by the state, brought back to the council. They debated it, tweaked it, and did whatever, and then unanimously approved it. So you felt like, okay, this was the will of the government, the will of the community. Next step, get it to the legislature, which they had to approve.
That's exactly right, Hank. I mean, the timeline or the steps that we went through, we have a committee of 15. We have attorneys that sit on the committee, and I even received an email that said that it was rushed through so fast that no one had a chance for any public input. But the committee itself is always an open meeting. Anyone can sit in on the committee. Once the committee has finished, there's during that session, there's an area there for public
comment period. Yes.
We took the committee's recommendation, and Hank, we went through 3 or 4 meetings that had to do with the 3/4 majority for the veto for the override part, and I was outnumbered. I was one of the committee members that thought it should be a simple majority plus 1. Some said 3/4, some said this, and believe it or not, just that one item took 3 or 4 committee meetings.
But after debate, it was passed. Everyone agreed. It voted.
Yes.
It was voted on. There was no public outcry. In fact, none of the delegation ever attended any of these meetings. Is that right? In all fairness to Tim Barnes, he hadn't been elected yet.
Right.
So, but they were asked to take part. They were asked to be involved. So just to kind of give some background, and they're busy. I mean, they have things that they're doing. I understand that, and they don't have time to, I'm sure. But when the document was done, did a copy of it, when it was approved, was a copy of it sent to all the delegation?
Yes, sir, and it was available the whole time. After it went to the council, then the council, and I told the committee members that are there, the 15, now these are recommendations that will go to the council, but the council itself had the last say. And there were changes made that the committee did not necessarily come to the consensus on. It was changed at the council, and the council put in their amendments and changed it. And then once all of the changes were made at the council, and then we had the final version, we had a vote on what to vote on, basically, with all the amendments, and then we had the final vote with all the council amendments, and then that went to the state legislature, and now we voted again since they sent it back to us. So
Was it your understanding that once you all had done the groundwork, you had done everything you were supposed to do as charged? Was it just your understanding that once it was completed, that you would then, you, the mayor, or the council, whoever, would get a copy of it to the House and the Senate by way of our delegation? And then, as the will of the local government, you would have expected that they were going to take it to the legislature, put it out on the floor. You know, the rest of the legislature would have just looked at our delegates and say, what, thumbs up, thumbs down, do you like it or not? And then they would have voted so far and so on about it. Is that your understanding? Would just get it there and let them vote, or not?
That is what I understood.
So apparently, in this letter, they have, and we're not sure who's, well, they have to take credit for them. I mean, they have to take responsibility for them. These are their concerns, the 5 concerns that are in the letter. And we'll talk about how the letter got to the media in a moment. Did it disappoint you that, you know, since they were not involved, and really no, they weren't necessarily, they didn't need to be involved. And they could have if they wanted, like any of us could have been there. We could have chimed in and thrown in our 2 cents as a citizen and whatnot. But even after it was complete and they had gotten a copy of it, did they all each get a copy of it? Did you send a copy of the charter or any of it? Did they get one? Or
Our
was
city attorney and
David Silvas, Lance Baker, they all worked on this? So,
right.
All right. Would it have been safe to assume that, like, before it turned into such a major media brouhaha, that if Mr. Pitts, Mr. Johnson, and now Mr. Barnes, who again wasn't elected at the time, in all fairness, he's kind of on the outside of the situation. He is elected now, but again, during this whole process was not involved. But, you know, that they would have brought these up, or say maybe this attorney, Sally Swaney in Nashville, may have called our city attorney and said, look, we need to work these out. I don't think these will fly. You need to relay that to your council.
Well, I mean, as I understand from Mr. Baker, Lance Baker, our city attorney, he contacted and talked to her, and she was surprised that this letter was made in the format that it was. She didn't have any problems. There was one with any of the items really that were on there. She just listed the current thing that we had and just listed some of the things that we had changed it to. Not that she was opposed to it.
Right.
There was one question that she had about concerning how to remove a council member from office, and cited some state laws, but she didn't actually say that ours conflicted with state law. But this, because of the nature of that particular thing, removing somebody from office, the state does have a lot of guidelines concerning that as well. But
well, Sally Swaney is who we're talking about, and I spoke to her for about an hour when I got my hands on a copy of this letter, and I got a copy of the letter from the mayor's office after they had gotten their letter. And I wanted to know about her role in this whole process, and she simply told me that those things were not her opinions, that they were simply differences between the old charter and the new charter.
that's the way I understood it as well.
Right, and that was it. It was that these are just the differences. I don't think she ever indicated to me that those were things that they needed to do or things that the council needed to change. She did tell me that there were no other communities in the state that had that. In other words, there were no other local county governments in the state that had in their charter the requirement that there be a 2/3 vote to override a mayoral veto, and so forth and so on, to which many people on the council and in the mayor's office told me, so what? If the rest of the state wanted to do that, then have them revise their charter and do it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, actually, I think there are other cities that have 2/3 majorities to
override a mayor's
Yes,
veto?
sir.
She said there were none.
She did?
That's what she told me. I'm just
As
saying.
I understood from the
But
city
she
attorney,
didn't want to.
he looked at some were simple majority, some were 3/4.
Right.
That
She
was a
said the
higher
state
standard.
legislature doesn't have that.
And
to
some
override.
puts the actual number that would, I think, equal, like it takes 7 rather than the fraction.
Well, the
they just
point
put the
being
actual
is like,
number.
and my first question was, so what? We're not really that concerned about Shelbyville or Knoxville or so what. And if they want to change their charter, then so be it. They'll send it to the state and vote, which
Exactly.
we did. Let's take a caller. Good morning. Hello, JZM.
Yeah, well, I know this is a Bonecutter show and all that, but if you got Wallace Red on there, well, give him a chance to talk, man.
Yeah, thanks. Take it away, Wallace. My amateur producer out there wants you to talk more.
Okay. I didn't know you had a boss there, Hank, but yeah, I appreciate that. But
well, what I'm trying to do is set up the timeline so people can understand just what it is that we're dealing with here so far as this issue.
Yes.
I'm also trying to share with our listeners that, the gospel according to the Leaf Chronicle is not totally the gospel on any and all stories.
Right.
That there are other news outlets who research and have the news, to get the news, talk about the news, and, that's the way it is. And so,
Exactly.
But I appreciate your call. So the charter there, you have the concerns. What we understand is it's politics. Do you think that the legislature, the delegation, will get this through the legislature?
Well, you say it's politics. The thing that was curious to me is that these items that were there, these were an opinion, and I'm trying to retrace the letter in my mind, but one of the three-fourths majority, I think the delegation put in that the state legislature just has a simple majority to override the veto.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's a difference between conflicting with state law, Hank, and just your opinion. And you see, the delegation, or I mean the committee that we have, they came to a consensus, and this committee is made up of volunteers, a broad range of volunteers. 4 are council members, but the other 15 are just regular citizens in the community to put in their input, and the city council itself had to ratify the committee's thing, or they could change it. But the three-fourths majority, like I said, I was only for a simple majority plus one. I was outnumbered. That was my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to hold up a whole antiquated charter change just because of one simple item there. And
let's take a caller. Good morning. Hello, JZM.
Good morning. In your state annotated code, it states that those items that are not covered by your charter are covered by Robert's Rules of Order. So that will cover your 3/4 majority vote.
All right.
Day.
Thank you. Kind of lost me on that, but well, here's the deal. I want to go back to the request for another vote, and I just want folks to understand the story and take the personalities out of it, which in this community is extremely difficult to do. To revise your charter, the state says that you revise it, you do it, whatever you do, whatever you choose to do at the time that you choose to do it. You have public comment, what you did. You have public input, what you did. You have votes, what you did. You had the council tweaking it and so on, what you did. And then it says have the council approve it on a 2/3 majority vote. And then you are prepared to send it to the legislature for them to vote, which the legislature meets January of each year. That's what you did.
yes.
You did exactly what you were supposed to do. But they asked that you take another vote of the council.
I was opposed to that.
Well, everybody should be opposed to that.
Right.
Why? What was the point? Do we need to do this all every time, or everybody should be put out by that? You did what you were supposed to do, and they got the thing to the legislature for this session.
Right.
But Curtis Johnson told me that, well, we needed, since we just got it in January or whatever, that the sitting current council needed to vote on it. Now, I thought that was ridiculous.
Right. The thing is, for me, Hank, it was a little bit of an insult to those council members that were serving at that time that took up the issue and voted on it. And because not all of them were defeated. Miss Ward, I think she just elected not to run. You had
doesn't matter.
Richard
They're the
Smith.
elected city council.
Exactly.
At the time they did it. It's like, well, Tim Barnes was not the Senate last year.
Right.
So is he going to be required this year to cast a vote for everything that came on the Senate floor last year or whatever? I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
It's politics is what it is. And there you have it. You have the hardline anti-Piper vote in the council now. Burkhart, Harris, Johnson, they don't, that's just the way it is. Then, of course, Joe Wallace, who has on record documented he has an issue about the two-thirds override of the mayor or veto. But let me address that. The council last year voted on it. Okay, now we have a new council. When it's voted on by the legislature, correct me if I'm wrong, it has to come back to the council for another vote after the legislature approves it, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the current city council would get their opportunity.
That's right.
To discuss it, to tweak it, to vote it up or down one way or the other.
Yes, sir.
That's what I think a lot of the public is missing.
I agree.
In that the folks who are not in favor of the charter, currently on the council, would have their opportunity to bring up their issues and put it before the council, and then let the council give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. So the process works. Why ask them to do it again before they even take it to the legislature?
It just makes another meeting.
I hope folks understand what we're dealing with here. And it's unfortunate, and I will share with you, although it is off the record. One of our elected officials in Nashville told a high-ranking city official that, quote, "We don't work for you." That bothers me. Yes, about the city council when they were going through this whole situation. That's very unfortunate. Look, this is what it's political, and on the blogs and the story chatters, who I find it so difficult to find. I wish I could find one of those folks on story chatters. I'd like to find one story chatter who likes anything.
Yeah.
Anything. I don't think you need to be in favor of everything everybody does, but I've never,
Exactly.
The same people, it drives me nuts. It's a shame that you don't like anything. Good morning. Hello, JZM.
Yeah, Hank, I served on that committee, the Charter Revision Committee, and I'm one of those citizen volunteers. And my kids, I have 4 children that are registered voters, and they have noticed that this whole thing is political. And some of the people that are up in the state legislature and even the members of the city council that don't like the charter, there's some young people out here that are getting some bad ideas about city government and serving in the state legislature. And some of the people might need to realize before they open their mouths what they're saying. Because my kids are smart kids, and there's some young citizens out here that want to serve, and they're not liking what they're seeing. So they might take some time to think about what kind of public image they're projecting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we appreciate your call. It's 8:34. And there you have it. So I want to talk about a couple of things. And the council voted again 9-4. Mayor cast a vote, again making him the target of all the criticism. He cast the tie-breaking vote. So the opinions have been, Piper's Way, this, that, and the other. Then this letter from City Court Judge Charles Smith is published online at Clarksville Online about the city government being a monarchy and, whatever. And so, it's probably safe to assume, number one, it's his opinion, and there you have it. He ran for mayor. Sounds like he will run for mayor again. Street talk is that Joe Pitts wants to run for either city mayor or county mayor. Curtis Johnson admitted on this show that he has his eyes on Speaker of the House and the legislature and so forth. In all fairness, and I talked to everyone except Joe Pitts, who had not returned calls, and that's not a bad thing. And when the paper prints these things about repeated calls were not returned, I don't like the impression that people think that that's a bad thing. They're not obligated to talk to you or any of the media. They're not obligated.
Right.
Obviously, politicians realize that, when you're talking through the media, talking to the citizens, to the voters, do it if you choose.
Exactly.
And that's fine. Don Trotter never talked to us much during his administration for whatever reason, and that's fine. I don't take it personal. It's not about me. It's about our listeners. It's about the citizens. You have a paper, you have some online spots, blogs, you have a radio station where the public can do whatever. So I don't lose any sleep. I don't want anybody to think that that's a bad thing. He could be busy and so forth. But, talking to them, Curtis told me, and Philip Johnson, who is quite the interesting character, by the way, in case you've never met him, and Tim Barnes wants to work with everyone. He just got elected. So unfortunately, Senator Barnes is caught in the middle of this political hotball, so to speak. Curtis kept telling me that, he needed something that he could feel comfortable with to put in front of the legislature. That, it was his impression that, if we go, that we need to have something we're comfortable with. Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, do I agree that he needs something more comfortable?
Right.
Well, Hank, again, there are some portions of the changes that I was the chair of the committee,
Right.
and there are some items that was placed in front of the committee that Councilman Summers and some other people that had changed things that did not go my way.
Right.
And the
Should he just take what you sent him and get it to the legislature?
I mean, but my opinion then, I voiced my opinion, and then it's over.
Right.
But their opinion of, well, the state legislature is a simple majority to override. Well, that's fine for the state legislature, but this is the city charter. This
Right.
is not the state legislature charter, and we went through all of the steps that's taken. Hank, it was months we went through just the voting process
Right.
to make all of the amendments, and there might be portions in here that everybody disagrees with. Look how big the charter is.
Right.
If there is some portion of that charter that you don't agree with, that's it would not surprise me. It's a document, that is this
It's huge. I mentioned it earlier.
Exactly. There's always going to be something.
Right.
And if we all agreed on everything, all 13 of us, well, 12 of us would not be needed.
That's right.
And that's just their opinion. But again, there's nothing there that conflicts with state law, so that's why I don't understand why.
That's a good point. I want to get to that. Let's take a caller. Good morning. Hello, JZM.
Good morning. This is Deanna.
Hey, D-Mac. How you doing?
Good. I just wanted to comment on Judge Smith's letter that he posted on Clarksville Online, where he says that our city council works hard, attends many meetings and functions in a fashion that, in my opinion, is totally orchestrated and controlled by the executive branch of the government, that the bulk of information utilized by the city council in decision-making is prepared, edited, and shaped by the executive branch of government. He's implying that we are puppets, that we are bobbleheads, like the bloggers like to call us. I feel like we are elected to be in these jobs, and that we, on our own accord, do research to find out how we're going to vote on an issue. I'm not spoon-fed information that helps me make my decisions, and I don't think a lot of other council members are either. And I'm really offended by that.
Yeah, I don't blame you, Deanna. Thanks for calling.
You're
Yeah, if I was a city council person, I would be extremely offended by that letter, too. But that's just my opinion. Good morning. Hello, JZM. Hello, JZM. All right, thanks for your hang-up. All right, if you want to call, feel free to give us a ring. That's fine. Give me a second. Hang on. There's a lot of folks wanting to call.
Can I say something about
go ahead.
what Ms. McGlaughlin, and I didn't read the letter, but I'm not controlled by the executive branch or this, and I do know that there may be, well, I don't know. You know as well as
I don't want to get off into that. This
most
is
of
not
the time,
we'll discuss that.
I just vote on what comes up.
That's his opinion, and he's
Right.
entitled, and we should respect his opinion like he should.
Oh,
respect
sure,
it.
and I do.
I don't necessarily always go like you said there, but I don't want to talk about that letter. That letter is it is what it is. I want to
Well, I
talk
didn't
about.
read it, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that.
Yeah.
A lot of times
Everybody
when I
on
vote
the council should be offended. Listen, the mayor, whoever he or she is a powerful figure.
Mm-hmm.
And they do run the city government. It's different from county government.
Right.
You expect a powerful, strong-willed, hard-working leader. When
Exactly.
we get one, it seems that so many people are put out by that. So I'll tell you what, let's elect Bozo the Clown and run our city. And we'll see if Bozo can get an HSC or whoever. And, then see what you like. Look, everyone's entitled. I don't always agree, and it's not about me, and it shouldn't be about you. It shouldn't be about Charles Smith, Johnny Piper, Joe Pitts, Philip Johnson. It should be about what's best for the community. This charter thing was terribly mishandled as so far as the concerns and so forth. Hand delivering a letter to the media, which I'm in the media. We lap that stuff up.
Yeah.
We eat that up. I don't care. All I care about is when I get a story to make sure I investigate it, report it accurately. I don't care if the devil himself brings me the letter. We don't.
Right.
And I don't mean, because the public expects that. Expects that when we put it out there on print, on the air, online, that it's accurate. And it's not, written by a story chatter who hates everything. Good morning. Hello, JZM.
Yeah, good morning, Hank. Mr. Wallace,
Yes, sir.
how you doing? I just feel that maybe we're getting a little bit too upset over this matter. You have voted on it, and you've returned it back to the delegation, and let's see what happens next. Before, people right now are walking around in a daze, they just, they got a lot of things on their mind, besides the charter, there's a lot of other things going around in this world. So why don't we just, chill out a little bit? Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, Wallace, let's all chill out. I agree. All right, so I want to talk about some of the concerns they had in the letter, which, again, I respect their opinions. The problem is we're not sure whose opinions they are. And I don't know that matters all that much because they all signed the letter. And I will point out that the letter that was leaked to the media was not signed by Tim Barnes. He had not signed the letter. He eventually signed the letter that you got and the mayor got and so forth, but that's neither here nor there. The story is what it is. Forget about how it got there. It was obviously out there to stir things up, which it has.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, after the 9-4 vote on Monday, we assume that the legislature will do as they should do, or what we Wallace Red can't walk us up to the state legislature and say, hey, guys, can I get a show of hands? We can't take that last caller and say, look, if you're on your way to Nashville, would you mind dropping this off the governor's office? So we can hope that next move. Curtis Johnson and I love Curtis. We were friends for a long time. Yeah. Curtis has an agenda, don't get me wrong.
He's a real nice fella, Curtis.
I think he's been on the council.
Got a great marina and park out there at Leatherwood.
That's right. And so we would hope that now that it's been voted on twice, that they would take it to the legislature. There's not been any changes. All right. And I don't know when that'll happen. More than likely, what I see is this, just guessing here, just an opinion, is that somehow it'll get bogged down in protocol and may not make it to a vote. Mm-hmm. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Because, again, Curtis has said I'd roll with it. Joe has made a few comments and so forth. Philip Johnson's kind of a non-event. He only represents a little bit of the county. And then Tim Barnes told me that he wants to do what's best for everyone and whatever he can do to help. He has kind of gotten caught up, unfortunately, into this deal. He's not happy about the fact that the letter was leaked to the media without his signature on it. He told me that. And so, at the same time, I believe Tim wants to do what's best and for the will of the people and so forth. I think that narrowing it down to the history of some of the personalities involved, and then you've got something to talk about over coffee, whether you chill out or not. Curtis said he wanted Plan B. Now, some of the items on that were concerned I find interesting. One was the issue about at-will employment, at-will employees. Touch on just what that is briefly.
Well, in Tennessee, we have at-will employment. It's basically this law goes back, I think, to the 40s or whatnot. And
what is at-will?
It's just that you just work for me and you can be dismissed or replaced for basically no reason at all or for any reason. It's just you just working at will.
Okay.
And I guess the only difference that would be from that would be if you're a athlete or some high-ranking member or CEO, then if you're not under contract, I'll put it that way.
All right, here's what
if you don't have some agreement, contract in writing, if that agreement is not there, you are considered, and this complies exactly with state law. You're an at-will employee.
The reason I bring that up is at-will employment is a major part of the state Republican Party agenda. All right?
But it's current law as well.
Well, the thing is Philip Johnson, Curtis Johnson are Republicans.
Yes, sir.
And the Republicans are all in favor of at-will employees.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know why they have a problem with that issue here. So that's just one curiosity.
Right.
The other point is, I'm trying to think, and I don't have my letter in front of me, but there's an issue about dismissing, or was it dismissing...
the council member? Or elected official? Elected official, yes.
Reportedly... and he wouldn't comment on it, but Philip Johnson, who mainly represents Cheatham County, helped Cheatham County pass that very item. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
He passed that very item that he now has concerns about here.
Right.
Tell me this isn't politics. We'll take a break and be back. You give us a call if you like. All right, good morning. Welcome back. Wallace Redd, City Councilman, with us this morning. He chaired the Charter Revision Committee, and the debate rages as to where it goes from here. Obviously, the ball's in the court of our state delegation, and I guess we'll see where it goes from here. Now, we can debate and talk and chew on and spit coffee all we want about how the story got out there. It's not important. I thought it was a little cheesy, very disrespectful, but it is what it is. The issue is that folks who didn't have hardly any concern at all about what was going on with this charter now all of a sudden are all up in arms. And they make it personal, whether it be you or Piper or whoever it may be. That's the way it always turns out to be. It is a document that we had asked forever to fix.
Yes.
I've been in this business 30-some-odd years, and as far back as Charlie Crow, Mayor Crow, I can remember the debate, we need to revise our charter.
Right.
Through Crozier, we need to do our charter. Trotter, Piper, Trotter, we need to revise the charter. And everybody agreed. We did it. We worked hard on it. We sent it to the legislature, and now all of a sudden there are some concerns. And I understand that, and I respect that. It's questionable as to whose concerns they are, but it is what it is.
Exactly.
All right, so it's your understanding that this legislative session, that Tim Barnes will get it to the Senate, and that the legislature, or Pitts or Johnson, whoever, will get it to the House. Is that how it works, or does it go to a subcommittee, or are they able to put it on the floor for a vote on each House? Do you know?
Hank, after, they have the document, and they have two-thirds vote of the council both times, and after that, I don't know what their process is. The city attorney has sent it to them, and I just know now the charter part that we're changing is in their hands.
All right, so we are still in session until, until May? Is that when the session runs, the state legislature?
I think so, yes, April.
I know they've got lots to do. The caller mentioned earlier, don't we have a lot to worry about? Yeah, we do. And we really do. There's a ton of stuff going on. The legislature has a ton, so they have financial problems as well, which leads me to believe that this issue is one of those issues that gets on the floor, gets to the vote. They look at our delegation like our delegation would look at the Memphis delegation or whoever and say, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Exactly.
Because they expect that our delegation has done their homework and that they're in this and that and the other. I want to ask you a little bit about the comments that were made to me quite a bit when studying this story. And again, I talked to Johnson, and Barnes, which sounds like a law firm. I was not able to chat with Mr. Pitts. Mr. Pitts, again, we're not able to get a hold of Mr. Pitts. And I talked to Sally Swaney, I talked to Lance Baker, David Silvas, all the folks who've been working on this and involved from the get-go. And, it seems like I'm wondering about the concerns that are in the letter and where it would go from here, and should there have been any concerns. You know what I'm saying? How do you feel about now after the fact? I know a lot of people who have great 20/20 hindsight.
Right.
Does it bother you somewhat that, they weren't involved? They don't seem to. I'm curious as to who all has actually read the document except your committee.
Yeah.
But should they just get it to a vote and be done with it or not? And then it's going to have to come back to this council again for a vote.
Exactly. And Hank, I guess my concern is we've done our job, and we have voted twice by two-thirds majority. The committee has voted this, and we've gone through all the procedures. We're not Congress where we're voting on giving away billions of dollars in just a few hours without reading it. We've gone through this in detail, and this has been open to the public and everything. We've gone through it not once but two-thirds majority vote, and it's there. This is the will now, you can say, of the council, and it does not conflict these
elected
changes.
by the citizens.
Yes, sir.
All right,
and it does not conflict with state law. I'm not saying that every item that you might agree with. Of course, there's an item here or there that I don't agree with. There's a few changes that Councilman Summers made that are there concerning holding offices and of course, the overriding, the veto, and other thing that I wish would have went the other way. But that's just the way it is. But this is the will of the council, and this is the city's charter. So I would hope that they try to get this through on this session.
Well, it sounds to me like that's not good enough. The letter reads that with these changes, we would feel comfortable in moving this forward through the legislature. It sounds to me, and Curtis Johnson disavowed that opinion, that it sounds to me that if you don't make the changes, we will not be comfortable in endorsing it. And that's kind of what I heard from him specifically, is that I'm uncomfortable, and here's why, is that the common argument about this document kept coming back as, well, not even the state legislature does it that way. There's not another city, county government in the state that does it this way. And I'm speaking of predominantly the mayoral veto override or any of the 5 concerns. So do you believe, or do you support the idea of, so what? This is what this community says it wants to do.
This is the way
and if anybody else wants to do it, they can.
The committee voted on it. Again, we went over this hours and hours and hours in committee. Just this one item that is so straightforward. We debated this over and over, and that's what the committee decided. It went to the council. That is what the council decided after the council debated on how much it should take to override the veto. So this is the will of the elected members of your city council here in Clarksville. It does not conflict with state law.
So they should accept that.
So we are asking you,
to do what you do.
I guess my only concern is why would anyone in our legislative delegation only pick out this one item? There are hundreds of items throughout the charter that we changed, and I'm sure there's other places that maybe other cities does not do it this way, or the legislature doesn't do it this way.
Well, we shouldn't be concerned about it.
But this is the will of the council. And
right. Elected by the people of the community.
Elected by the people, and this is the way that the council has decided they would like to change the charter. This is...
The attorney I spoke with who works for the legislative delegation pointed out to me that in her opinion, that specifically, and I know we're focusing a lot on the mayoral override because of the personalities involved, and in addition to the letter that was referenced earlier in the show that Charles Smith sent to this online website about our government being a monarchy and everyone else being puppets, so to speak, it adds credence to the idea that we can't give Piper that much power. Having a 2/3 majority to override a veto, you know, according to this attorney, Sally Swaney, she felt tips the balance of power to the executive branch. You have the executive, judicial, and the legislative branch of government. And she felt like that, you know, obviously nobody else in the state has it. Why would you? There's a concern as to what does it matter. It's not against the law, right? You checked it. It's not against the law.
And Johnny Piper was not present at the committee whenever we debated this particular item.
I guarantee
And there was some of us on the committee that was for a simple majority +1. Some were more. There were 3/4. Some were 2/3. I mean, and again,
I guarantee you, anybody running for mayor, I don't care who it is, again, I'll go back to Bozo the Clown, whoever's running for, whoever's the mayor, would really embrace the fact that there needed to be a 2/3 veto override. I don't care who it is, Charles Smith, Joe Pitts, Curtis Johnson, Jim Durrett, you, me, Gary, it doesn't matter, you know. So, but it is the will of the people and voted by the council as it is, and you know, so they should take it and get a thumbs up or thumbs down. Good morning, hello, JZM.
Hey, Hank. I just want to say one other thing, okay? You know, this coalition, or the delegation, I'm sorry. The delegation, do those folks live within in the city of Clarksville? And you know, eventually they will also say that the Mayor Piper is their mayor. And one of the things that was in that newspaper article was that they sort of felt, or somebody felt, like maybe they were giving the mayor too much power. So
yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it. It is about personalities, and unfortunately it is, and we're all caught in the middle, and all the good hard work that was done on it, it's legal. The state said it was legal. There wasn't anything wrong with it technically. It was a legal document. It's been voted on twice, and now it sits. And now it sits there, and for years and years, decades, you know, this community has wanted a charter revision, and we have it. And so, you know, hopefully they will take it and they will work vigorously for it as the will of this community, as voted on by its elected bodies, you know, worked hard. I would hope that Johnson, Pitts, and Barnes will take it to the legislature.
Me too.
And vigorously support their constituency and
the city.
And, yeah, everyone. I mean, everyone involved. The city government is saying, look, you know, we're proud of the work they did. It's legal. Attorneys have checked it. There's nothing wrong with it. There are things in there we disagree with, but, you know, the democratic process is such that this is what they want, and we want you to give it a thumbs up.
And you only have one other choice, Hank. You can keep an old, antiquated charter that does conflict in many areas with state law. Or you can accept the one that we revised and spent hours and hours going through tediously to revise it. But and I would hope that no one would use their position as a sharp stick just to poke at people or to get back at someone, but they would look at the work that we've done and it passed the city council, it's not against state law, and recommend to the state legislature to pass this.
All right, thanks so much, Wallace
Thank you,
Red.
Hank.
We appreciate all your work and your opinions and the hard work of the committee.
Thank you.
And sharing your thoughts on it, and hopefully we'll see where it goes from here. And we hope you have another happy 50 years, dude. And I hope you'll send me an invite to your 100th birthday party.
Yes, I will.
You know?
I'm already making plans.
I can't wait to see you
2059.
do... You know, I can't wait to see you do magic tricks at 100. Hey, watch this. Watch me pull a dead rabbit out of my hat. You're awesome, man. We love you. Thanks, Wallace. We appreciate it. All right, we'll take our top of the hour break here on Clarksville in Review. We're